In the first chapter, we learned about how important curiosity is. Curiosity makes us ask questions. Questions lead us to research, and the research becomes the scientific method. So, the real objective of every education system in the world is to make learners into problem solvers through the scientific process. Now, as you are just beginning in 6th standard, the first is to understand the world around us, especially the living organisms. This chapter mainly focuses on how to become curious about living organisms. When you look around, you usually just see plants and animals. They may look different, but we never notice carefully. This chapter is here to help you observe the differences among living organisms. The example given in the book is about walking in the park. Imagine you are walking in the park. You will see different plants, trees, birds, animals, insects, and the environment around you. The book wants you to visualize this and notice the variety. But before you start, there is one most important thing you must understand. Every living organism is like us. Whether it is a grass, a small insect, or a big tree, they are also living. That means they can feel, they have emotions, they also experience pain. Just like when we get hurt, we feel pain and sadness, living organisms also suffer when harmed. So, before you start learning about them, you must learn to respect and treat all living organisms with care. Now, let's come back to the park. When you walk, you will notice different plants. The book asks you to collect leaves to compare. Until now, maybe you have never looked at leaves carefully, their shape, size, color, or even the stem and flowers. By filling the table given in the book, you will understand that every plant looks different in some way. Next time you see a plant, you will be curious about its parts. It is not only about how a plant looks, you can also notice its size, strength, smell, or even taste. These are all features that makes each plant different. In the same way, animals are also very different from each other. And the difference doesn't mean only in their looks. Animals differ in what they eat, how they walk, how their bodies are shaped, and even where they live. The objective of this part is simple. You must be able to notice these differences, write them down, and recall them later. Now, once we have noticed differences, the next step in the scientific process is to group them. Think of it like your water bottles in the class. Each bottle is meant to carry water, but still, one is tall, another is short, one is plastic, another is metal, one is thermos, another is ordinary, and all of them are bottles. But you can group them in many ways. Similarly, plants and animals can also be grouped. You may group them in your own way, but science also has systematic grouping methods. For example, in plants, the tall ones are called trees, smaller but bushy ones are called shrubs, very small plants are called herbs. Some plants have weak stems and climb on others. These are all called climbers. By observing their features, you can start recording and grouping them. Even with leaves, you can group them by size, shape, or pattern. Each plant may look different, but certain features can be the same, which allows grouping. So, the whole objective of this chapter is the same as the first one, to make you curious, this time curious about plants and animals. When you learn to group them and classify, you'll start the first step of the scientific method in biology, that is understanding diversity. So we have seen that plants can be categorized based on the overall size, their leaves, their stem, their flowers, and even their root. Roots are usually under the soil, so we don't see them. But they also have different appearances and structures depending on the plant. Now, looking at the root is not always good for the plant, because if you pull it out, the plants may die. In some cases, you can carefully remove it, look at the root, and then plant it back. The plant may still survive, but it hurts and its growth slows down. Still, roots are important because even based on root, we can categorize the plants. In fact, you'll be surprised to know that there is a relationship between the type of vein in the leaves and the type of roots the plants has. These kind of facts make you curious to ask, why do plants have these kind of features? Now let's look at seeds. Some seeds, when they grow, split into two halves, and the leaves come out. Some seeds have only one portion. The seed with two halves are called dicot seeds, and the ones with one portion are called monocot seeds. The word mono always means one, and di means two. The part of the seed that stores food and energy is called catylodon. Seeds are very important because in the beginning stage, when the plant has no leaves or roots, it survives only on the stored energy inside the seed. Now, just like plants, we can also group animals. Animals are a little more complex than plants because they move and have many body parts. But even for animals, you can group them in many ways. For example, some animals live on land, some live in water. Some breathe air, some breathe in water. Some can fly, some can swim. Some even live underground. So, based on different conditions and features, animals can also be classified. Here, you must know about Janaki Ammal, lived between 1897 to 1984. She worked very hard to preserve plant diversity in India. Many times we may think plants are just plants, they are everywhere and we can cut or throw them away. But in the history of Earth, every single plant has played an important role in the ecosystem. Some may look small and useless, but they are essential for balance of life on the earth. People like Janaki Ammal dedicated their lives to save this diversity. Because if even one type of plants disappear, the balance of the nature is disturbed. Some plants survive in drought, some survive in flood, some provide food, some support other species. Each type of plant has its own unique role. We must get inspired by such people and also take responsibility to protect diversity. Now, think about this. Earth is not the same everywhere. Some places are hot and dry, some are cold, some are freezing. Some are full of water, some are mix of mud and water. So plants and animals have evolved for millions of years to suit the place where they live. That's why you see certain type of plants and animals only in certain places. For example, in a desert, you will see cactus and camels. In snowy mountains, you will see different types of trees and animals. Each living being adapts to its environment. This is called adaptation. For example, camels have special features to survive in desert. They can store water in their body and walk long distances without food and water. But a common goat or dog cannot survive in such conditions. Even the same plant can look different in different places. Take the rhododendron tree in Nilgiris. It grows short and small leaves because it has to face strong winds on mountain tops. But in Sikkim, the same tree grows tall and big leaves because the conditions are different. So, the same species can adapt and change its body design according to the place. The place where the plants or animal live is called the habitat. So remember, animals and plants look different, not just by chance, it's because Earth itself is different in different regions. The resources, climate, danger, and conditions are not the same everywhere. That is why biodiversity is very important. If there are only one type of plant or one type of animal, life on Earth would not be balanced. Diversity keeps Earth alive and it's our responsibility to preserve it. So we have understood that plants are different, the animals are different. Why? Because they live in different habitats and face different conditions. But remember, they are also interrelated. In science, we will finally realize that everything is connected. Plants may be different, animals may be different, but both depend on each other. If plants disappear, then the animals depending on those plants will also disappear. If that happens, Earth will move towards destruction. That is why scientists and nature lovers have worked hard to preserve diversity. For example, Salim Ali lived between 1896 to 1987. He traveled all across India studying and documenting birds. He even mapped their travel routes. He wrote 10 books about the birds of the Indian subcontinent. Because of this, he is known as Birdman of India. Birds, like plants and animals, play a very important role in nature. People like Salim Ali dedicated their lives to protecting them, often without realizing that their work also supported the survival of human beings. Now let's come back to the habitat. Animal and plants living in water are said to be in an aquatic habitat. Animal and plants living on land are said to be in a terrestrial habitat. But some animals are very interesting. Take frogs. When they are young, as eggs and tadpoles, they live in water like aquatic animals. But when they grow into adult frog, they live on land like terrestrial animals. Animals that live part of their life in water and part on the land are called amphibians. It is very important to save animals and their habitat. In India, animals like the Bengal tiger, the cheetah, and the great Indian bustard are declining in numbers because of the destruction of their natural habitat caused by human activity. Forests, especially natural forests, are very important. Some of them are undisturbed patches like sacred groves, which communities all over India have been protecting for generations. These natural habitats must be saved. So, what should be the outcome for you after learning this chapter? You must become curious about plants and animals. You must understand that they are all important for our survival. If you want humans to survive for generations, we must protect not just ourselves, but all living beings, their habitat, and the plants that support them. From the smallest beetle to the largest elephant, every species matters. The more species die out, the more dangerous it becomes for human survival. So, it is the responsibility of every one of us to protect and preserve the diversity. At the end of the day, the objective of this chapter is simple. If you become sensitive towards nature, then the chapter is successful.